week 12 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few running backs I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams here going with the youth movement. They cut loose Darrell Henderson, and he got claimed by the Jacksonville Jaguars on Wednesday. So right here, Kyren Williams so far in limited action in 2 ball games this season. Week 10 versus Arizona, 1 carry, 9 yards, 3 catches, 30 yards. And week 11 at the Saints, 7 carries, 36 yards, a catch for 8 yards. So right now, it's a good thing he catches the ball out of the backfield, because in this one at the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be chasing points early and often, I will believe. Here's this Los Angeles Rams team with obviously no Matt Stafford, no Cooper Kupp, a depleted offensive line, and the Chiefs do give up the 7th most fantasy points to running backs. So right here, I think Williams as a sleeper option in deeper leagues, and a guy who could maybe pinch out 8 or 9 fantasy points with an expanded role. Available in 70% of fantasy leagues. I have him as a sleeper this week. The next sleeper is Ty Johnson of the New York Jets. And Ty Johnson, I know we haven't seen much out of him so far this season here, but Michael Carter's not 100%. He's banged up. And James Robinson, he pretty much hasn't done anything except 1 pop game in the last 6 or 7 weeks here, going back to games played with Jacksonville. So the last few games here for Ty Johnson: Week 8 versus New England, 2 carries, 6 yards on 2 targets. Week 9 versus Buffalo, 2 carries, 17 yards. And Week 11 in New England, 4 carries, 4 yards on a target. So right here, good matchup on paper versus the Bears that give up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs on the season. And like I mentioned, Michael Carter, we don't know if he's 100% coming into this game. Ty Johnson, he played a decent amount of snaps in last week's game. And this Jet offense, they definitely need a boost here. They're going from Zach Wilson, who's pretty much done nothing in the last 5-6 weeks since he returned, to Mike White, who last season showed some flashes and actually got the wide receivers involved. So right now, Johnson available in 100% of fantasy leagues here. And if you're real desperate, he's a guy you could use as a sleeper option this week. In the third and final running back I have as a sleeper this week here is Mike Boone of the Denver Broncos. So right here, there's a chance he could come back in week 12. Here's Mike Boone with a good matchup at the Panthers that give up the 6th most fantasy points to running backs on the season. So we know the story over there in Denver. Melvin Gordon, he got cut loose. He didn't sign on with a new team yet. And Chase Edmonds, who they traded for in the Bradley Chubb deal a few weeks ago at the deadline here, he's on IR with an ankle injury, a high ankle sprain. So Mike Boone, we've seen flashes of him earlier when obviously Javonte Williams went out for the season. Week 4 at the Vegas Raiders, 3 carries, 20 yards, a catch, 9 yards. Week 5 versus the Colts on that Thursday night football game, 7 carries, 38 yards, 3 catches, 47 yards. Week 6 at the Chargers, a carry for a yard, a catch, 3 yards. And then Week 7 versus the Jets was off to a decent start, 4 carries, 23 yards, and then he went down with the injury. So if he could come back this week here, I think he's going to be a third down back and passing downs back. But obviously, Latavius Murray handling the workload and the goal line work. So right now, I got Mike Boone as a sleeper and available 97% of fantasy leagues. That's a few running backs I have as sleeper options here for Week 12 of the fantasy football season.